I'm just going to tell you about driving in Celbridge. We're going to do a short drive in Celbridge today. My name is Kevin and Carton School of Motoring is my business, and we're going to do a drive in Celbridge and point out maybe some of the issues learner drivers find difficult to deal with. So I want to tell you a little bit about my business first. We provide lessons in automatic and manual cars in North Kildare and West Dublin. We do pre-test lessons in Naas, Mulhuddard, Tala and Finglas. So if you visit our website, cartonschoolofmotoring.com, you'll find test route videos on the site there, and you'll find all my contact details. So we're going to start our drive now. I'm going to talk you through everything as we go along. So I'm going to approach Celbridge from the Maynooth side. So we're going to come in the Maynooth Road into Celbridge. So we're approaching Celbridge, coming down by the Salesian School. You're driving on a straight road here, and your position will be slightly left of centre. We're coming into a new speed zone of 50 kilometres an hour, and you keep that in mind on approach and ensure you don't breach it. So you take into account the activity that's going on outside the school, what traffic and pedestrians and cyclists are around, vulnerable road users. So we're going to come to a roundabout, and there's two exits at the roundabout if you look at the sign, one to the left and one for straight on. Now if you look at the road, there's also road markings on the road, and it tells you which way you should approach the roundabout. So there's an arrow here at the right hand lane saying for straight on you should be on the right hand side. So we're going to brake gently, have a look in your mirror first, and we're going to block change your gears from gear 4 to gear 2, and ease up your clutch carefully and do those smoothly. Then you give way to traffic on your right. So when it's clear, you're ready to move along promptly. And to exit off the roundabout, centre mirror and left indicator. Make sure there's nobody flying up on your left side, as in a cyclist or motorcycle. So there's some roadworks up ahead, stop go sign at it. So you just be mindful of whatever activity is going on there as well, and looking at your road layout. So when you're driving forward, you should take short, middle and long looks. That helps you to identify everything that's going on, see your road signs and your road markings, and all the activities that are going on ahead of you. So you need to look in your middle mirror from time to time. So we're approaching a ramp here now, which is, you look at the ramp, it's quite high, so we'll be approaching this ramp in gear 2. So if a ramp is very high, gear 2 is the best gear to approach it in. If it's not high and smooth, gear 3 will be okay. So we're going to go on to the next traffic lights, and we're going to go to our right at the traffic lights. So on approach, you check your centre and right mirror and put on your right indicator. This road to the right is just opposite Maxhall. Now it's very important before you enter the lane you do further mirror checks, so additional centre and right mirrors, and again making sure there's nothing coming up on your right hand side, as in a cyclist. You move up to the centre of the junction on the green light, you stop over the box, then if there's a suitable gap in the traffic you move on, look over into the road you're entering. You notice on this road now there's a cycle track on the left with a broken line. Now you may enter the cycle track if you need to, but you should do a mirror checks before you enter in case there's a cyclist there. So there's a series of ramps along this road. They're borderline between gear 3 and 2. So gear 2 is the safest option, and they're quite close, some of them. So if they're very close, you may not get an opportunity to go up to the next gear, so that's fine. If there is a bit of distance, move on to the next gear. So a little bit of gas here, coming to gear 3. Braking gently. Anytime you're slowing down, make sure you look in your middle mirror first. So your middle mirror must be looked at if you're going to slow down or increase speed, or if you're going to move to the left or right, check the centre and relevant side mirror. So we're going to drive down to the T junction at the end of this road, and we're going to go to our left. So we're going to check our centre and left mirror and indicate to the left. We're going to slow down, and there's a ramp near the mouth of the junction, so we're going to come to gear 2, and we're going to turn left here onto Shackleton Road. Position your car like that, reasonably close to the curb. Then check that it's safe to go out, and if it is, just move along. You must stop fully when there's a stop line or a stop sign. Now we're going to go straight on at these lights, and at the following lights we're going to go right towards Celbridge. So when you pass this junction, centre and right mirror indicating, easing over to your lane on the right. Now when you're going to move away from these traffic lights, there's a few key observations you need to do. You need to have a quick glance up to your left and then look down to your direction of travel. And while you're waiting at the red light, just be aware of your surroundings, check your mirrors, make sure there's no pedestrian about to walk across and you're going to move. So when you're waiting in a scenario with the red lights, make sure your car is secure, your handbrake is on. Okay, about to go, glance to the left and then look down to your direction of travel. Get your car to gear 2 before you make the turn. Try and have your gear selected just before the point of turn. We're driving down now towards Main Street, and again you're still in that 50k zone. So look up ahead and read the road signs that are there. There's some information here telling us there's a ramp ahead, sharp corner to the right, so you just need to be able to see all that and react to whatever is there. So we're going to brake lightly here. We're going to look in the mirrors first, keep pressure on the brake. I'm going to select gear 3, so you must keep your car under control there when you're coming down the gears. Now it's a very sharp corner to the right onto Main Street. It is the main road. You do not need to indicate, but I would regard it as a gear 2 corner. Now you must watch for traffic on the right and left. It's a blind junction, so sometimes they put across at short notice. You do have priority, you still must be careful. Feed the steering through your hands and feed the steering back through your hands. After the ramp then, it's quiet this morning. We're going to come along to gear 3. So straight away look down the street, see what's going on, have a look at the pedestrian lights and see if there are people waiting to cross. You'll be mindful of car doors opening, people walking over and back. When we get down to the end of the street, we're going to be going to our left. Now, there is a stop sign up here, so you must stop the car fully at the end of the street. Pedestrian walking across, so we'll just slow down a little bit. Now centre and left mirror indicating to the left, there's a lane change here, So before you go to your lane, check your mirrors again, make sure there's no cyclist on your left hand side, that's the biggest risk. A complete stop. And gear 1 and off we go. Now we're going to go out the Dublin Road. So going out the Dublin Road, you do have priority over other cars, but again you need to be mindful because sometimes people pull out at short notice here. And be very mindful of the zebra crossing here. So after that then you can move the car on. The lights up ahead are changing. I'm just going to look at my mirrors, go lightly on my brake, take my car directly from gear 4 to gear 2, keep one eye on the traffic lights all the time, and just lightly on the brake, clutch to the floor. Handbrake in gear 1, gas, clutch the bike to move away, make sure you're aware of your surroundings there, and when you're stopping the car make sure you go lightly on the brake first and clutch to the floor. We're going to go to the right of the next traffic light, so again centre and right mirror and signalling. Do additional mirror checks just before you switch over to the lane to make sure there's nobody going up on your right. Get this junction here and move up to the centre of the junction. And I'll wait for a suitable gap. And once there's a suitable gap, just take it. Now you have to be able to judge the speed of oncoming traffic. That's very important to be able to get that right. And to know when you can move and when you can't move. So dealing with traffic lights and dealing with junctions, it's where incidents occur, so you need to be on the ball for those. So I'm going to drive down to the next junction, it's the Newcastle Celbridge Road. I'm going to turn to my right, backing towards Celbridge, towards the bridge. So centre and right mirror and right indicator on approach. So you can see there's a ramp here near the mouth of the junction. So just come to gear 2, it's part of the junction, the ramp. Go up onto the ramp and take your car right up to the stop line. And then brake, clutch to stop the car. Move your car to gear 1. Now when you're moving away, you should give some gas before you bring the clutch to the bite. If you bring your clutch up to the bite, you're going to cut out a lot quicker. So that's the way to do it. A little bit of gas first and then your clutch to the bite, not the other way around. That's in a petrol car in particular. So just to talk a little bit about the handbrake, you use the handbrake if you're stopped on a hill, if you're waiting at red lights, if you're stopped longer than sort of 6-7 seconds, use your handbrake. So if you're in traffic and you're stopping and starting, when you come to a stop, see is traffic about to move again, and if it is, just move on to the next gear and go ahead, don't use your handbrake. If you come to a stop sign and there's nothing coming, come to a complete stop, put your car in gear 1 and move on. If you get delayed, use your handbrake. So high ramp coming up here, so I'm going to brake and come to gear 2. And I come down to the junction here at the bridge, and when I come to this junction I'm going to be going straight ahead. There is a stop sign, so you must stop the car fully. There's also a zebra crossing, which you really need to watch. Now it's important to know who has priority here, but even if you have priority you need to be careful. You have a priority over the cars on the left and over the cars coming over the bridge, and you must give way to traffic on the right coming in from the Dublin side. So when it's clear, I just look to my right, it looks clear, I look in front of me then to make sure there's nobody just cutting across the junction, and off I go. When I go over the bridge here, I'm going to turn to my right up to Main Street, so centre and right mirror and right indicator. Keep your car reasonably close to the centre line. And it's important to know about right of way, so cars coming in from the lane side have priority over you. Cars coming from the main street don't, but you need to watch because people do react badly sometimes at this junction, so watch out for this going on. I'm going to take the next road to the left into Patrick's Park, so centre and left mirror signalling left. Make sure there's not a cyclist coming up on your inside, so check your mirrors again, take a look into your side window to make sure there's no cyclist there on your left. I'm going to come through Patrick's Park, come back towards the bridge again, because it's around the area of the bridge people are not sure about who is priority, and where learner drivers get a little bit mixed up, which is totally understandable. But it's like a lot of things, when you do it a few times it gets easy. So then with the parked cars here on the left, I'm keeping a door width out from those cars. But if there was a long line of cars and a car came from the other side, you may not be able to keep a door width. So you need to slow down considerably, and you need to be able to stop if somebody opens out a car door in front of you. Also, position on the road is very important when you're driving through housing estates. You keep to your side unless there's a hazard on your side. Just up here, we're following the main road. The line curves, and you can see there's a stop line against the road on the right. So it's easy enough to know which way the main road goes, but sometimes people get a little confused as well there. Now there's some cars parked on the left hand side, so coming down here, I just look at my mirrors. You don't indicate out in a housing estate like this unless you had to stop to let a car come up. Keep a car door out, just full width of a door if you can. And when you pass the last car, then look in your mirrors and ease back to your side. So we're going left at the next junction, so centre and left mirror, left indicator, positioning your car, bringing it down to the left, right down to the stop line. And just brake clutch to stop. Okay, so when it's clear, no need for your handbrake, just move on. You've stopped and checked and it's safe. Look to your direction of travel. That's always your last look, is to look to where you're going. And always your most important observation is to look where you're going. So we're in the 50k zone, so we're in gear 4, and we'll go down to the junction at the end of the road. We're going to go left again towards the bridge. So on approach here, we're going to check our mirrors and we're going to signal. I'm going to approach this junction in gear 3. It's a nice flat road. If the junction was difficult or awkward, gear 2 would be a better choice. There's nothing, no problem here. So lightly on the brake, clutch to the floor, and gear 1. So again, checking it's safe each way and taking an opportunity when it comes. That can be a challenge for people in the beginning. So the bus is pulled in on the left. Checking your mirrors, easing around the bus, make sure nobody walks across in front of the bus. Out in front of you. Look at the zebra crossing, nobody crossing. We'll do a priority from this side, so we're going over the bridge here. Now I'm going to take the next road to the right, so centre and right mirror and right indicator. We'll slow down and come to gear 2. Everybody has priority over me except the cars coming out from the right of the Arkla Road. So I'm going to make my turn. He's waiting for me, giving me an opportunity to cross. So look at your zebra crossing there. That is dangerous there. Sometimes people come across the bridge on bikes and straight out onto it. I'm going to go up and I'm going to take the next road to the left. So again, checking my mirrors and indicating to the left. Slowing down, lightly on my brake, selecting gear 2. Check the left mirror again. Look into the junction before you turn in. You should always look into a road before you enter it. And you'll see if there's any incidents there. You might need to stop if there was. So again, use your gears appropriate for the speed you're travelling at, and then identify your hazards like this ramp. Look at the ramp and see what gear you're coming to. I'm coming to gear 2 for this one. Off with a little bit of gas, I'm going to move on to gear 3. A little bit of gas again, I'm coming to gear 4. So up ahead you can see a ramp as well. So just be having a scan of the road and look at the ramp and see what's it like. So again, I'm braking, coming to gear 2 for the ramp, easing up my clutch. So don't be on the brake or clutch when you're at the ramp. Have it done beforehand. So, and don't have your foot on the brake crossing the ramp. So the next ramp, just braking here. It's not quite as high. I'm coming to gear 3. I'm still on the brake just before the ramp and taking my foot off the brake. And on the ramp, then give it a bit of gas. I'm going to go up to the T-junction with Newcastle Road, and I'm going to go to my right. So I'm going to take the next road now to the right. So centre and right mirror and right indicator. Slowing down, gear 2. Look into the road before you enter it. Now it's important to be able to drive on a narrow country road as well, and it could be part of your driving test as well. So again, it's about these roads particularly meet people walking their dogs and so on, and you have to be able to deal with all that well, and you have to be able to deal with it safely. Down the road, and the short looks clear, the middle look, and then on the longer look you can see some pedestrians walking on the right and pedestrians walking on the left. So what you'll be doing there is you keep an eye on them, see is there any traffic coming in the opposite direction as well, and you may have to take particular actions when you're close to them. So pedestrians and things that are moving, cars, cyclists, and so on, they be called moving hazards. So for this here, I'm going to just select gear 3. I'm going to check my mirrors and indicate out from those people so they can see that I'm aware of them there, and it makes them feel safer. So just check your mirrors to come back, it's sufficient. So meeting pedestrians like that on the road, they're going to be walking, if they're walking on the correct side of the road, they're going to be walking on your side of the road. So you ask yourself the question, if you're coming into a severe bend, if there's a pedestrian walking and a car coming the other way, will you be able to deal with it? You may have to stop the car. So just watch for that sort of thing, it's crucial. Now we're going to go down and we're taking the next road to the left onto Lord's Road. So it's centre and left mirror and left indicator. Selecting gear 2, it's a very sharp entrance in. You need to bring up your left hand high on the steering and steer sharply. And then feed the steering back through your hands. Remember, always feeding the steering. Both hands on the steering all the time, unless you're going to use some of the car controls. And you hold the steering at 1/4 or 10 to 2 for your normal driving. And then you have to move your hands, coming into junctions. If you're going to the right, you might have to move up your hand to the right. Going to the left, move up your hand to the left so you get a good rotation on the wheel. speed limit sign reminding you here is still 60k on this road. We're doing 50. Now we're going up to the stop sign and we're going left. Now the road here as you're approaching the stop sign gets very narrow, so if somebody comes in, you know, it can be an issue. So just to approach it correctly. So as I'm getting closer to it now, it's narrowing in fairly well here. So I'm going to come back here to gear 2. And there's a few reasons for that. One is because of the width of the road, and secondly, somebody can just step off the curb on the left as you're approaching the junction. So your mirrors and your indicator. And here's the place where it's a little bit risky if someone stepped off there, and keeping your position well. Indeed, stop, have a look, safe to go out. Out we go. Now we're going down to the roundabout, and we're going to take the first exit at the roundabout, which we're going to treat as straight on. So nothing coming from the right. Centre and left mirror and signal to exit off the roundabout, and move on up your gears. So pedestrian lights up ahead. The good tip is if you see somebody waiting at those lights, pressing the button. Remember the lights can change very quickly. A green light is always the most risky as they can change over. So if you're approaching a junction with a green light, if it's green for some time, slow the car down. Or if there's activity at the junction. So you'll be able to approach the junction safely if the lights change over. So we're coming back into a 50 zone here, and we're going to go down and take the next road to the left. So centre and left mirror and left indicator, light pressure on the brake, selecting gear 2 directly, easing up your clutch, do an additional centre and left mirror before you enter. In other words, this is taking us back into Hazel Hatch Park, and I want to go down to the bridge and turn left to show you how to do that, because again it's something people get a little bit nervous about if they're learning to drive. And the best way with any of those things is just to do them, practice them, and you get good at them. It's also important to remember pedestrians, you must give priority to pedestrians. If they step out on the road, you must give way. So we're going down to the T-junction, and we're going to go to our right at the T-junction. So again, your mirrors and signals. There's a ramp quite near the junction, so I'm going to approach in gear 2. There's a stop line out here, it's a little bit faded. But if you look over towards the left, you can see where the line is there. So it's clear, so we're going out. We're on the Clock Road now, and we're going to go down towards the bridge in Celbridge, and we're going to go to our left there. There's a few things to watch when you're coming up to this bridge. One is, of course, the zebra crossing, and as I said to you the last time, the footbridge there, and sometimes kids come down there on the bike and go out on the crossing fairly quick, so you want to watch that and approach. So on approach, again, your mirrors, centre and left, particular signalling, Slowing down, just gear 2 before the crossing. Ease up the clutch. There is a pedestrian coming across, so we'll wait and give him right away. You get up to the stop sign, you come to a complete stop. Most times you will need your handbrake there. Get the gas up, get the clutch to the bite. It's clear from the Newcastle Road, it's clear from the Dublin Road, so I can go out. Then look where you're going, because it's quite a narrow exit. Not to brush the wall and not to go out too far. Gear 2. This time I'm just going to follow the main road. The last time we turned right up Main Street. So again, just be aware of your space here. We have adequate room to move forward, and we're just following the main road. No indicators required. Coming around here, then watch then for the zebra crossing. I'm going to take the next road to the right. So centre mirror and right indicator. Looking up in the distance is a car well back. Look at your junction and turn into it. And turn properly into your junction. Do not cut the junction. Turn centrally into your half of the road. So always look into the road. That will help you to see the layout of the junction and that you turn in correctly. High those ramps, so if you approach ramps correctly, you won't be damaging your car. So it is important if you're driving over a lot. So if you're just, would say, on a driving test, for instance, the problems or the main issues that cause people not to get through their driving test would be position of the road, observations, not doing the correct observations at the right time, being reasonably progressive, and not identifying hazards and reacting properly to them. So at the next traffic lights, we're going to go to our right at the traffic lights. So centre and right mirror and right indicator. And approach the lights in gear 2. If the lights change, you can move it on. So brake, clutch to stop the car, move straight to gear 1, secure the car with your handbrake. Gas, clutch to bite, quick glance to your left and then look where you're going. Again, come down here, looking at the pedestrian lights. There's nobody standing there at the moment. So we're on the Shackleton Road again. We're going down to the traffic lights at Tesco, and we're going to be going to our left at the traffic lights. So now centre and left mirror and left indicator. We have filter arrow here and checking my left mirror again at a quick glance to the right, and then look where you're going. Now it's important to do those observations at the appropriate time. If you take them at the wrong time, you'll have a problem on your test. Gear 2 for those ramps is the best gear. It can be a little bit rough. Now I'm going to drive up to the roundabout at Apple Green, and I'm going to go to my right there, and I'm just going to do those roundabouts there and conclude after that. Beside us on our left and a car exiting from the right, so we're just showing a little bit of caution there. She's in her own lane there, adequate room. Now we're approaching the next ramp. We're going to be slowing down, coming to gear 2. It's quite a drop off this ramp on the far side, so you need to approach it cautiously. Up to a stop-go system up here where they're doing some road work, so it's important to be aware of that and changing the sign there. So I'm just going to gear 3 when I'm going through the road works there. So okay, then you can move on. We're going up to the roundabout, and you'd be asked in your test possibly to take the second exit if you were doing a driving test. So if you look at the sign, there's only two exits, one for straight and one for right. So don't assume the second exit is auto straight on, because it's not. So mirrors and signal to the right, slowing down, selecting gear 2 directly, checking it's safe, and moving the car on. Now, to exit off the roundabout, when you're midway past the exit before the one you're taking, centre and left mirror signalling, make sure there's nothing on your left hand side, and continue on into the roundabout. So we're in the 60k zone here. So just bring this up to 60k. We're in gear 6 at this point, now it's 60k. Depending on the car you're on, we should drive at a gear that's appropriate for your car and speed. Now, when we reach the next roundabout, we're going to take the second exit, which is straight on for the leak slip. So there's the warning sign, the yellow sign telling you there's a roundabout up ahead. You can see the edges and the large sign there. I'm just going to look at my mirrors and brake slightly. As I said, I'm in gear 6, and I'm going to come directly over from gear 6 to gear 2. Now you should keep light pressure on the brake while you're doing that, while you're selecting the gear and bringing up your clutch. Then if it's clear, then go move your car on. Now you must give way to traffic on your right in both lanes, and it's a narrow roundabout, so it can come to gear 3. And to exit off the roundabout, again, centre and left mirror signalling, and you're onto a dual carriageway here. And on the dual carriageway, you drive in the left lane unless you're going to be overtaking. next roundabout, I am going to be taking the second exit, which is straight on. Just looking at my mirrors, I'm going to slow down, keeping light pressure on the foot brake, reducing my speed to 30 km or less. Keep a little pressure on the brake while you're selecting your gear and while you're bringing up the clutch. Just sufficient to keep the momentum out of the car, but not too hard or you'll stop the car. Now that's important, again, to do it well. And then your mirrors and signal takes it off the roundabout. Give some gas straight away and move on up through the gears. Gear 5 and gear 6. Reach the next roundabout, I'm going to go to my left at the roundabout. So at the top of the hill, you look down here, you can see the roundabout. The first exit is to the left. There's a lane change, so I look at my central and left mirror and indicate to the left. I'm keeping light pressure on the foot brake, the momentum out of the car, checking my mirrors again before I switch to the lane. It's quite a long lane, so I'm keeping on the brake lightly, and I'm going to come directly over to gear 2. Easing up my clutch, and then when you see it's clear, just move the car on, don't be waiting around. The buses up ahead are turning right into Intel, and we're going to be going straight ahead. I'm going to be putting over on the left side up here, so I'm going to look in all my mirrors. I'm going to put on my left indicator, and then on the left. So that concludes our drive in Celbridge here this morning. So I hope you found it useful, and if you need to do lessons in an automatic or manual car, visit our website at cartonschoolofmotoring.com. Thank you.